Yugi versus Marik. It's the Battle City Finals. Yugi holds the Egyptian gods Slifer and Obelisk, while Marik holds the ultimate god, the winged dragon of Ra. Spoilers, this duel ends with Yugi banishing the winged dragon of Ra and 99% of Yami Marik's soul. Because of this, the good Marik is able to take over the duel, and he surrenders his final life points, and by doing so, the final part of Yami Marik's soul is destroyed. Today I want to see if the duel had continued. What would have happened? Not only that, Yami Marik has always been known for a bit of a sadistic character, and I wondered if this tendency to torture rather than go for game might have cost him the duel, or perhaps Yugi might have had an earlier opportunity for victory. Could he have missed it? We're not going to know the answers to these questions unless we jump into the duel. Before the duel begins, Kaiba gives Yugi Fiend's Sanctuary, a quick play spell that Kaiba had planned to use against Marik to counter his Egyptian god's one-turn kill combo. Yugi, trusting in Kaiba, adds this card to his deck. Following this, we get the best pre-duel cut banter I have seen in the entire Yu-Gi-Oh franchise.
Yes, shuffle well, Pharaoh, and hope with all of your soul that Ra ends up on the bottom.
And with that, the duel begins. Marik immediately plunges it into a shadow game. Now, whenever a monster is destroyed, the owner feels the same pain that that monster felt at its destruction. Also, whenever life point damage occurs, the duelist's other half will lose part of their souls. The twist on this that Marik doesn't reveal is that if Marik were to somehow lose this duel, his other half would be deleted, but he would continue to live. Whereas for Pharaoh Atem, since Yugi is his vessel, if he loses his vessel, he also dies as well. So Marik has pretty much got himself a get out of jail free card. That is, unless Yugi does something during this duel. Marik draws for his opening turn. His hand consists of the Winged Dragon of Ra, Vampiric Leech, Duragado, Dark Spell Regeneration, Zombie's Jewel, and Vengeful Bog Spirit. Marik starts by summoning his Vampiric Leech to the field. Thanks to its effect, it is able to attack despite being the first turn. Yugi takes the first damage of the duel. Vampiric Leech's second effect activates. By discarding one card, Marik can switch it into defense. Marik discards his Egyptian god, the Winged Dragon of Ra, and Vampiric Leech switches to defense. Due to the rules of Battle City, which I have covered here, Marik doesn't reveal what card he sends, nor can Yugi check what card is in Marik's graveyard due to a lack of public knowledge disclosure in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. I say that, but regardless, Yugi just assumes the card he dumped in the grave was the Winged Dragon of Ra because that's what Marik does. He dumps the Winged Dragon of Ra in the graveyard to bring it back all the time. And yeah, Yugi was right. Marik ends his turn by setting Zombie's Jewel face down. It's Yugi's turn and he draws. His opening hand consists of Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Karibo, Defusion, Exchange, and Multiply. Yugi summons his Queen's Knight and immediately enters his battle phase. He attacks and destroys Vampiric Leech. Yugi ends his turn by setting Exchange and Multiply face down. It's Marik's turn and he creepily licks his lips. Oh my. He draws and gets Left Arm Offering. Marik summons his Duragado to the field. He enters his battle phase and attacks and destroys Queen's Knight. Marik moves to his main phase 2 and sets Dark Spell Regeneration and Left Arm Offering face down and ends his turn. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Ragnarok. This card will become tremendously important on the final turn of the duel. But for now, Marik interrupts Yugi's turn. He activates his set Left Arm Offering. Due to its effect, Marik can discard his entire hand in order to add any spell in his deck straight to his hand. Marik sends the only card in his hand, Vengeful Bog Spirit, to the grave. This lets him add Monster Reborn. Yugi, having absolutely none of this, activates his set spell Exchange. This forces both players to steal one card from each other's hands. Yugi takes Marik's Monster Reborn, while Marik takes Yugi's Defusion. Now, you could make a case that Marik should have taken King's Knight, because if he took King's Knight, then Yugi wouldn't be able to do his face card combo. But there is merit in Marik taking Defusion, as Defusion is a card that can counter one of the Winged Dragon of Ra's abilities. By taking Defusion from Yugi's hand, it prevents Yugi from defusing him and Ra should he use that effect. Note as well, conveniently, the last card in Yugi's hand, he obscures. We can't really see what the card is, however, from reverse engineering the duel, I know that this card is Ragnarok, the card that is ultimately going to win Yugi the duel. And while I don't think the card was obscured for Marik, this was mainly done for us, the audience, I just kind of think that's funny because had Marik taken that card, then this would have ultimately meant that Yugi couldn't win with that card later on. But it would have been a dead card for Marik to have in his hand because he wouldn't have been able to activate it at all. So the question then becomes, was Defusion the right choice? Yeah, I think it was. I don't think there's any misplays here. Yugi, now in control of Marik's Monster Reborn, activates it immediately. He brings back his Queen's Knight. Due to the anime's game mechanics, Monster Reborn goes to Yugi's grave, despite being owned by Marik. That'll become important later, don't worry about it for now. Yugi follows this up by summoning his King's Knight to the field. By summoning King's Knight, he can then special summon his Jack's Knight from his deck. Yugi moves into his battle phase, but before he can declare an attack, he gets a bad feeling, and so decides to play cautiously, and ends his turn without attacking. This is the same thing that happened to Joey during his duel against Marik. Both him and Yugi have had bad feelings about Marik's set cards. This is because Marik gives off an aura that you're playing right into his trap. And this messes with duelists' confidence. In this case, was not attacking the right choice for Yugi? Well, with Dark Spell Regeneration face down, had Yugi attacked, then Marik would have summoned Ra 2 turns earlier than he normally would have. Ra would have obliterated whatever monster had declared the attack, but ultimately would have gone to the grave at the end of the turn. On Marik's next turn, he would get his Ra back to the field. He would then summon a monster in his hand, tribute all of his life points and all of his monster's attack points in order to attack Yugi's attack position knight. This attack would result in game for Marik. However, with Kuriboh in Yugi's hand, he could discard it to nullify the damage he would have taken. Can Kuriboh negate the damage from an Egyptian god? Well, direct attack damage? I'm not too sure. Kuriboh has been used in the past to negate Obelisk's effect damage ability. When he tributes 2 monsters, wipes the opponent's field, Yugi discarded it to make it so that he wouldn't take any damage. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say Kuriboh could have tanked the hit. This would mean that Marik would be forced to use his Defusion, diffusing Ra, getting back his life points. It's unclear if Marik could refuse with Ra again in the middle of the battle phase, but most likely he couldn't. And so Marik would either have to use his Card of Sanctity now to try and build up some defenses, or just wait for his next turn. After this, we move entirely into speculation territory. But to answer the question, was not attacking the right choice? Well, either way was fine. If he attacked, he would have been in this situation now. If he didn't attack, well, ultimately he's going to win the duel based on it, so who would have known? No misplay, Yugi. It's Marik's turn, and he draws Card of Sanctity. Marik, wanting Yugi to get out one of his Egyptian god cards, sets his Defusion face down, and then activates Card of Sanctity. This allows both players to draw until they have 6 cards in their hand. Marik draws 6 new cards. He gets Jam Defender, Polymerization, Swallowtail Spike Lizard, Class System, Bait Doll, and Mask of Remnants. Yugi, with 2 cards already in his hand, draws 4 new cards. He gets Dark Magician Girl, Gazelle, the King of Mythical Beasts, Magical Dimension, and Dark Magician. Marik switches his Juragado into defense and ends his turn. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Slifer, the Sky Dragon. Yugi tributes his Queens, Kings, and Jack's Knight in order to summon his Egyptian god, Slifer. Due to its effect, it gains 1000 attack and defense for each card in Yugi's hand. Since there are 6, it has 6000 attack. Yugi, more confident with a god card on his field, decides to risk an attack, despite Marik's face downs. Marik does reveal that Yugi has fallen into his trap and activates Dark Spell Regeneration. Now, since a monster declared an attack, this card can activate a spell from Yugi's grave. He activates his own Monster Reborn. Doing this allows Marik to resurrect the Winged Dragon of Ra. Marik summons it in its Immortal Phoenix mode. In this mode, Ra is immune to everything, meaning not only is it immune to being destroyed by battle, but not even Slifer's ability has an effect on Ra. Furthermore, Marik pays 1000 life points in order to use Ra's ability. This effect orders Ra to attack and destroy any monster he wishes. He does so and uses Ra to destroy Slifer. As the battle phase comes to an end, Ra sends itself to the grave, since spell and trap effects wear off from gods after one turn. Marik, however, isn't done. He activates his Zombie Jewel trap, which lets him add back Monster Reborn from Yugi's grave. By doing this play, however, Yugi is allowed to draw one new card. Without even looking, Yugi draws and immediately sets it face down. The referee gets mad at Yugi for this, since he didn't look at the card, and makes the point that if you just set a monster, that would be shenanigans and a disqualifiable action. However, luckily, Kaiba vouches for Yugi, and it is revealed the card he set was the card that Kaiba gave him, Fiend's Sanctuary. The reason that Yugi didn't look at this card was because he could sense Kaiba's will in the card. So he didn't need to look, he knew what it was straight away and just set it face down. This could also be a little bit of foreshadowing for the end of the series, where Yami Yugi is able to just draw cards without even looking at them, because he's just that uber powerful at the end of the series. So kind of cool if that's the case. Also, by the way, side note, I like how the referee kicks off at this, but you know, you can just disintegrate somebody's soul over there. That's no problem. But God forbid you set a card without looking at it. My goodness. It's back to Marik, and he draws Metal Reflect Slime. Marik immediately activates Monster Reborn to bring back Ra. This time, however, he uses Ra's second effect. By paying all but one of his life points, he can increase the attack and defense of Ra by the amount he pays. This act also fuses Marik with the Egyptian god. Following this, Marik also tributes his Juragado through Ra's effect. This lets him boost Ra's attack even further. Marik uses Ra to attack Yugi directly. However, Yugi activates his set, Fiend's Sanctuary. This card summons a Metal Fiend token to Yugi's side of the field. The monster's effect makes it so that monsters must attack this token, and when they do, any damage that would be inflicted is instead redirected to Marik's life points. If this attack connects, Yugi will win the duel. And with Marik already having declared his attack and unable to stop the attack, it seems as if that's the case. However, luckily, Marik took Defusion from Yugi. He activates it to separate himself from Ra. Since technically Marik is fused with Ra, it's classed as a fusion monster, I guess, so it's fine to defuse the two. All the attack points Ra had are added back to Marik's life points. With Monster Reborn only able to last one turn, Ra returns back to the grave. With no more plays, Marik sets his Metal Reflect Slime trap face down and ends his turn. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Obelisk the Tormentor. On Yugi's standby phase, he is forced to pay 1000 life points for the maintenance cost of his Metal Fiend token. He pays this and then moves into his main phase. He activates his set spell, Multiply. This card lets him special summon duplicate clones of a monster with less than 500 attack on his field. He multiplies his Metal Fiend token by 3. Now, with 3 monsters on his field, he has enough tributes to summon Obelisk. Note, it was possible for Yugi to multiply his monster by 5, completely filling up his field. However, there's 2 reasons why he doesn't need to do this. One is that he'd have to pay 1000 life points for each of the Metal Fiend tokens he has in the field during his standby phases. That's a chunky bit of damage. We don't want to do that. 2, while having Obelisk on the field with 2 tributable monsters would be pretty awesome, the fact that Marik has nothing on his field, it's a bit of a waste. So I think Yugi made the right call, just getting out 3 tokens. Now Yugi tributes all 3 tokens to summon Obelisk the Tormentor. With an open field, Yugi attacks Marik directly. Marik takes 4000 damage, and the equivalent physical damage is dealt to him. Honestly, it looked painful. After recovering from the blow, Marik activates his set trap, Metal Reflect Slime. Since he lost over half his life points from an attack, this trap card can be summoned as a copy of the attacking monster, with a defense stat equal to 3/4 the attack of the opponent's monster. Why make it 3/4? It's just so weird. Okay, anime. With no further plays, Yugi sets his magical dimension face down and ends his turn. It's Marik's turn, and he draws Revival Jam. He summons it to the field into defense. He then activates Polymerization to fuse his slime token and Revival Jam together to make his Egyptian god slime. While this monster is on the field, its name is always treated as Revival Jam. Its attack and defense are equal to the defense of the Metal Reflect slime used for its fusion summon. Also, if it is destroyed by battle, it simply resummons itself straight to the field. With this unbeatable wall, Marik ends his turn. It's Yugi's turn, and he draws Big Shield Gardener. He summons it into defense. Unaware of Egyptian God Slime's effect, he uses Obelisk to attack it. However, Yugi quickly finds out is incapable of being destroyed by battle. With no further plays, Yugi ends his turn. In hindsight, now that I think about it, maybe, just maybe, Yugi could have put one more Metal Fiend token on his field. Yes, he'd have paid 1,000 life points on his turn, but it would have meant he could have tribute that and the Big Shield Gardener to use Obelisk's effect to wipe Marik's field and then deal 4,000 damage and then instantly win the duel on this turn. That is true. That is true. And in hindsight as well, he's got Dark Magician Girl in his hand. So if the Metal Fiend token is such an issue, he can just tribute that away for Dark Magician Girl, so he doesn't have to pay the maintenance cost anymore. So, all right, you guys win. Yes, you're right. He should have summoned more tokens if that was available, but I don't know. He summons like 5 with Karibos normally, so I don't see why he couldn't do it with a Metal Fiend token. So, yeah, misplay Yugi. You should have summoned another Metal Fiend token to the field with your multiply spell, and you could have clapped this turn. Oh well, it's Marik's turn, and he draws Boganian. He sets Jam Defender face down, and then summons Boganian into defense. Now, while this monster remains in the field, Yugi will take 300 damage each time he ends his turn. Marik ends his turn. It's back to Yugi, and he draws Soul Taker. He sets it face down straight away, and then tributes Big Shield Gardener to summon Dark Magician Girl. Yugi enters his battle phase and uses Dark Magician Girl to attack Boganian. However, Marik activates his Jam Defender, which forces all monsters to attack Egyptian God Slime. Since Slime had 3,000 defense, Yugi takes the difference as damage. Yugi ends his turn, and as he does, Boganian deals 300 damage. Why Yugi didn't just attack with Obelisk, by the way, in that battle phase? I mean, I know he doesn't know where his face downs are, but attacking with an Egyptian god is much safer than attacking with a Dark Magician Girl. What if it was like a magic cylinder or something? I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna call that misplay Yugi. Should have attacked with Obelisk. He wouldn't have taken any damage this turn as well. It's Marik's turn, and he draws Magical Stone Excavation. He activates it straight away by discarding 2 cards in his hand. By doing so, he can add 1 spell in his grave to his hand. The cards he sent were Bait Doll and Mask of Remnants. Due to the effect of Magical Stone Excavation, however, he's unable to use it this turn. And so, Marik sets his class system face down and summons Swallowtail's Spike Lizard into defense. Due to this monster's effect, it will increase Marik's life points by 1,000 during each of his standby phases. With that, Marik ends his turn. It's Yugi's turn, and the penultimate turn of the duel. He draws and gets Monster Reborn. He summons Gazelle, the king of mythical beasts, into defense. He then sets Monster Reborn and Ragnarok face down. As Yugi goes to end his turn, Boganian inflicts 300 damage to Yugi. It's Marik's turn, and the final turn of the duel. He draws and gets Surprise Attack from Beyond. When Marik's standby phase occurs, he gains 1,000 life points thanks to his lizard. Marik, wasting no time, activates Monster Reborn to bring back the Winged Dragon of Ra. He summons it in its Immortal Phoenix mode. He pays 1,000 life points to use its effect. He orders it to attack and destroy Obelisk. However, Yugi plays his set, Monster Reborn. This allows him to bring back Slifer the Sky Dragon into defense. Due to the effect of Slifer, when summoned into defense during the battle phase, whatever attack was declared is redirected to Slifer. And so, Slifer is destroyed instead of Obelisk. With the attack concluded, Ra returns back to the grave. However, Marik activates his Surprise Attack from Beyond. This lets him repeat the battle phase he just conducted, and even bring back any monsters he summoned that turn. The battle phase 2 begins, ends, and Ra returns to the field. Unable to pay 1,000 life points for Immortal Phoenix mode, Marik resorts to its second effect form instead, paying all of his life points except for one to increase its attack. Yugi, having waited for this moment, activates his set spell, Soul Taker. Due to this card's effect, he can tribute an opponent's monster as if it was his own. However, Marik will gain 1,000 life points as a result. Believing Yugi plans to tribute Ra while Marik is fused with it, Yugi reveals that Ra is not his target. Instead, it's his Egyptian God Slime. Since God Slime is a fusion monster, due to Battle City rules, it is classed as two monsters. And so, Yugi tributes God Slime to activate Obelisk's special effect. Now he can destroy all monsters the opponent controls, and then deal 4,000 damage. However, Marik has one final play. He tributes his two other monsters, Boganian and Swallowtail Spike Lizard, and pays all of his life points again apart from one to increase Ra's attack. Marik then activates his class system. This card makes it so that if he is attacked by a monster who just used an effect, it can prevent that monster from attacking if its level does not exceed the level of its attack target. Since Ra and Obelisk both share the level of 10, Obelisk's level isn't higher, and so the attack is cancelled. Now, with more attack points than Obelisk the Tormentor, Marik uses Ra to destroy Obelisk in battle. However, Yugi activates his Magical Dimension. This card's effect can only be activated if he controls a spellcaster monster, and an opponent's monster has just declared an attack. By tributing two monsters he controls, he can negate the attack and special summon one spellcaster monster in his hand. However, that spellcaster will be destroyed during the end phase. Yugi, taking a play right out of Kaiba's book, tributes his Gazelle, the king of mythical beasts, and his own Egyptian god, Obelisk the Tormentor, in order to summon his ace monster, Dark Magician. Since Obelisk left the field, Ra's attack fizzles, due to the sacrifice escape ruling of Battle City. Despite the fact the winged dragon of Ra will now go back to the grave at the end of the battle phase, Yugi makes an extra final play. He does this in order to purge Yami Marik from Marik's body. The card he activates is Ragnarok. This card can only be activated if there are two magicians on the field. Yugi must now banish every monster from his hand, deck, and graveyard in order to banish every monster the opponent currently controls. Ragnarok resolves uncontested. Every monster in Yugi's hand, deck, and graveyard emerges, and all of them bum rush Ra and Marik together. With the combined might of every single one of Yugi's cards, they all drag Ra and Marik into the banish zone. Since evil Marik was fused with Ra, 99% of his soul is purged. With this catastrophic damage to Yami Marik's soul, good Marik is able to retake control of his body. Now in control, Marik decides to end the duel on his terms. He places his hand over his deck, signifying he has forfeited the duel. The last of Marik's life points drop to 0, and the final 1% of Yami Marik's soul is purged for good. Yugi wins the duel. But hold on, what would have happened if the duel continued? Was there still more game to be played? Could Marik have won if he continued? No. Despite the fact that Yugi banished all his monsters, and Dark Magician is going to the grave at the end of this turn, keep in mind that Marik has no monsters, spells, or traps that he can summon or set to keep him in this duel for another turn. And keep in mind, all of these plays happened during Marik's battle phase. So as soon as Yugi's turn starts, attack with Dark Magician Girl, won the duel. So overall, to summarize, yes, Yugi did have an opportunity to win in the middle of this duel. If he was able to bring more Fiend tokens to the field, yeah, he could have won. Regardless, both duelists played the best possible duel they could. Marik didn't resort to simple torture plays. I think he learned his lesson from his duel against Joey. It was a good duel, one of the best duels in the series. And I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you want to see me playing with a Marik-inspired deck, I have a video here, and you can check the link down below. Or if you want to see how Kaiba did against the Shizu, there's another video for you to watch right there. Thank you for watching. Catch you later.